A diamond is simply a piece of coal that's responded well to pressure. Our evolution is simply that. It's just how do we respond to the evolutionary tension that's put upon us. This is, to me, the most dynamic and amazing time to have ever been on this planet. This is one of the most important, if not the most important time in the history of humanity. The more pressure that is put upon us, the faster we actually wake up. It'll be unlike anything anyone has ever experienced.
Welcome everyone, Guy here, and I gotta be honest, I have an incredibly mind-bending episode for you today. I welcome back to the show RJ Spina for the third time. If you haven't checked out the last two podcasts I've done with them, they're exceptional, honestly, and worth checking out. And I feel this episode continues to build upon everything that we do too. We dive deep into the mysteries of existence, the origin of ascended masters, which is something I'm very curious about at the moment, and the true nature of reality, which is something, of course, we cover on the show. We also explore the concepts that challenge, I guess, everything you might think you know, from the creation of gods to the mind-blowing idea that reality might be just our imagination and it's all an illusion. He also shares his personal experiences on higher consciousness and how these teachings can affect our own life personally on our own journeys, which I feel is really important. If you're watching on YouTube, please let me know what you think about this episode. Let me know where you are in the world so we can continue to connect and continue to grow the channel and get these conversations out there more and more. I'm very happy to bring this to you today. As for our retreats, our September retreat in Australia has sold out. Our Croatian retreat in October, I'll be going to Europe, has almost sold out. I believe we've nearly got 50 people there, which just blows my mind, and I'm so excited to be bringing more of this work around the world to people. And we are opening slots for 2025, so we've just opened January in northern New South Wales, Australia. We're also trying to lock down Bali in Europe next year. The momentum continues, and hopefully I get to meet you one day in person myself, give you a hug at one of our live events. There's links below, free meditations below, everything to keep the momentum going. Much love from me. Enjoy this episode with RJ. It's fantastic. Here we are, RJ. Welcome back to the show, mate. Mate, you've made a select few, which is coming back onto the show for the third time. I'm honored.
Oh, I'm honored. I appreciate it. We always have a very good time, and thank you very much for having me back, Guy.
You're very welcome. I'm interested to see how this show goes today. I've got a teething son who's keeping me sleep deprived over the last few nights. And it's very early in the morning here where I am. But in saying that, that's normally when the best dialogue tends to come out of me because my brain is completely disengaged. So I'll see how I go today, mate.
Yeah, let's go for a ride. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I wanted to kick off the conversation because the last two podcasts we've recorded have done exceptionally well. And I've felt that the conversations have kind of been building upon each other, if that makes sense. And today, from my own curious mind, is to explore the Ascended Masters and explore the concept of non-physical beings that come and here to support us. Because I appreciate we're right now on the planet, we're in tumultuous times. There's a lot of theories of what's happening and a lot of input, but I'd love to hear your aspects of what are Ascended Masters, why are they here, and especially for people that haven't experienced it, because I've had the good fortune now of when I hold space in workshops that start to experience that energy come in from a very different vantage point. So I can hear my son going off even in the background, so I'll hit mute in a sec. But let's start. Ascended Masters.
Oddly enough, like we were just talking about, my new book, Access Superconsciousness, has got a section on Ascended Masters because it's a question on a lot of people's minds. What are they? How does that work? What is their role, etc.? Okay. So it's my direct experience that there are what I call 13 old school OGs, 13 old school Ascended Masters. Now, where they come from, we'll take a bit of an explanation, and I'll explain what their role is, etc. Okay, so the first thing that we have to go to, and the Hindu masters talk about this. So there's a frame of reference of this. And when I started experiencing these things, I wasn't really sure where to look because I was like, what's going on here? But there is a history through the Hindu masters of experiencing these things. Okay. So if we think about existence itself, all of existence at one moment, just kind of waking up, just like we wake up in the morning, right? And all of a sudden, existence itself becomes self-aware. Now, in that moment, that initial moment of just becoming self-aware, there is no self-knowledge. There is no gnosis. There is no understanding of self. So, and the only mandate of existence is to know thyself and all thy infinite potential. So existence itself, and the Hindu masters called this being, if you will, the absolute or the all there is. It is everything. It is existence. So in this moment, Guy, it just kind of wakes up. But upon this awakening, it also realizes it doesn't know anything about itself. It literally just woke up. So in order to understand itself, the first thing that it did was create 12 gods. Think of it as drones, though. So it created 12 things because it wanted to understand itself. So it created these 12 gods or drones and sent these gods or drones in all these different directions of itself because it doesn't know anything about itself up there, to the left, to the right, down there, etc. So it kind of set them out. Now, these 12 gods are also referenced and called the Elohim, which is still in Judeo-Christian texts. And Elohim means gods, plural. Our God, we are within a multiversal structure that is within one of these 12 Elohims, one of these 12 gods. The
Interesting.
ascended masters, from my direct experience, are the direct projection of each one of these different 12 gods, including a direct projection from the pure absolute or the pure all there is. So the ascended masters, part of why they're so different, part of why they have such extraordinary abilities, wisdom, love, power. The ascended masters are the true teachers of humanity, the true teachers of consciousness itself, actually. And each one of these projections get projected into each one of these different Elohims or God's environments. So there's an aspect of all of these other gods, as well as from the direct absolute, in our multiversal structure. And this is where we get the beings such as Jesus, Buddha, Paramahansa Yogananda, Saint Germain, El Moria, and I list them all in the book and I go into great detail with them. But the ascended masters are projections of all the gods, including one directly from the absolute, which is Paramahansa Yogananda, one of those incarnations directly from the absolute. And they keep incarnating over and over again to be an embodiment and to hold the space and to raise the frequency of the collective consciousness so we can move to its next level of understanding of itself.
Wow, that's quite an overview. So my first question is those drones, let's say they set off in the different directions to start to get to become more self-aware and know thyself. So are you saying that one drone, one god is here that's overarching our universe? And there's 12 other universes or whatever that might be realities set up?
Okay, how I experience it, and not just me. It is rare, but not just me. How I experience it is that this entire multiversal structure, so all the universes, all the parallel conditions, all of it is one structure from one of the gods, our God, and within it are these projections or pieces or aspects, would be me or you, an aspect of soul, are within this multiversal structure. So they're all projected into it. And they are, because of their nature of their consciousness, the nature of their being, by them being here and operating the way that they operate, they're moving consciousness forward. So the
Okay.
structure itself that we're in is the structure from one of these Elohim or these gods. Each one of these gods has created their own environments, but from my experience, our God here, the environment that it created, is the most unique piece of imagination ever brought into manifestation for me. And so all the ascended masters show up here, and there's always a couple of them that are incarnate, and they take turns based upon what needs to happen. They are the embodiment of a very specific vibration that it's like the right spice for a stew. It's like, oh, the stew is
Right.
coming along, but it's just missing a little something. So that little something is often a timeless teacher of humanity. So they just keep showing up over and over.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm so curious about this, and just want to make sure I get the right questions to unearth the right information from you,
Mhm.
RJ, because what I've noticed on my own journey after my awakening about 10 years ago, that obviously there was a vibrational shift within me, and that keeps evolving. And as I hold space to bring people into meditation, and we use sound and breath and different aspects to get in, it's like my nervous system and my evolution of myself continues to evolve, and that energy frequency continues to raise or go faster, however you want to frame it. And then there was a point where different energies I could start to merge with that were very present and very clear, that want to use the space and myself as a conduit. Not that I'm special, not that I'm doing anything different, except my vibration is changing and my intent is coming from heart. It's pure. Like to want to serve and support people that are going through on this journey. And it's been interesting to feel different presences come in and with different, very different energies
Mhm.
that are extremely powerful. Some are very soft and very loving, and some are very strong and like almost like this is no shit. Let's just cut through to the chase and
Mhm.
blast you. It's amazing, and there's been signs along the way to like, well, do I really need to know which ascended master or which angelic being that is, or do I just let it go and just continue to be of service? So that's where I'm kind of at the moment. But I guess my questions is right now, how do they help humanity? And what are the differences between archangels and ascended masters? And do each ascended masters have different roles as
Whoa.
well?
Okay. Yeah. All right. That was a lot
Big
there, guy.
question. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's okay.
apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. All right. So I would say that all of us, at one point, at one incarnation or another, have all worked with an ascended master. Well, all of us, because there's always a couple of them here. And contrary to popular spiritual fiction, they're not always just channeled. They often keep coming back, and they're often not recognized as an ascended master during the incarnation itself. It's only a couple of hundred years after, as we kind of look back and get some space and look at the body of work of that being, and we then say, oh, well, that was obviously an ascended master. So most of us have worked with one or more ascended masters. Then sometimes we have some we work better with. Just like you were talking about these energies that you're opening yourself up to, Beth, and some of them are, we'll say, gentle and loving and
Mm.
kind, and others are like, let's get cracking here, right? So we all work with those that we get the best results from. So it will just depend. This is the age. What I can tell you is that this is the age of the being that we call Saint Germain. Now, Saint Germain
Okay.
is also known as Master R. So the higher self, and that is also, and that's one incarnation of an ascended master. That same higher self that's been projecting aspects that was Saint Germain was also Merlin, was also Moses, was also Plato, Gilgamesh, Amelia Earhart, Francis Bacon, the true authors of the Shakespearean plays, and more and more and more. And I actually list them all in the new book. So right now, the energy of Master R, or the energy of Saint Germain, is quite prevalent. And so that being keeps incarnating over and over again. Now, I think where this gets confusing for people is that those different incarnations, and we're just using Saint Germain because the age, excuse me, the age that we're in, he really is the embodiment, and he really is the captain of the changes that are taking place. It takes an army, but he's kind of like the captain, if that makes sense. So we misunderstand and we think that it's the exact same soul that was Plato, that was Moses, that was Joseph, father of Christ, that was Francis Bacon. It's the exact same soul reincarnated. That is not accurate. My direct experience is the higher self that's projecting all of those incarnations of that specific ascended master are coming. I know it's my fist, but just think that it's the higher self. All those incarnations are coming from that same source point. And all the ascended masters are the same way. So in other words, Buddha, the being that we know as Buddha, was also Thoth, was also Hermes Trismegistus. And so those are different incarnations. It's not the same soul showing up and over again. It's a projection from the same higher self. So that's kind of how that works. They're always around. So some of these other incarnations, like Saint Germain or Christ or Buddha, that specific incarnation, they are not incarnate right now. So we can work with them. And this is some of the things that's happening for you, Guy, and others as well, because you are raising your frequency and you're opening up more of yourself. Remember, God is within your consciousness. So all of these beings are actually, as weird as it sounds, that they're part of you. It's all one thing. As you open yourself up and raise your frequency, you're coming into, it's all one multidimensional self. It's all God, right? Except for the ascended masters. But so as you're opening yourself up more, you're recognizing more of yourself. And as you recognize more of yourself, you're recognizing more of these exalted beings, and they start showing up. Now, and then I'll stop. Some of those beings still keep incarnating. So it's not like, well, now that one incarnation of Saint Germain, he is not incarnate right now. He was incarnate. But the higher self that projects pieces of itself, there have been other incarnations from that same higher self that was Saint Germain. And Amelia Earhart is one example.
Wow. So people anyone listening to this podcast will be clearly on the path, and open to the conversation that we're having for sure. How would you advise somebody to start to work with or access or allow this information in on a personal level? Because surely you can use it to help guide you moving forward on our own evolution as well. Because at the end of the day, if we're evolving ourselves, which in turn will evolve humanity and all move forward, then it's a win-win for everyone, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a rising tide lifts all ships, right? And that's the entire point. For those that are desirous of working with an ascended master, my suggestion is that start to avail yourself of some of these exalted beings. And we named a few: Paramahansa Yogananda, Saint Germain, Buddha, Christ, El Morya, who was King Arthur, by the way, who was also Akbar the Great, who was also Sri Yukteswar, the guru to Paramahansa Yogananda. So as we start to, we can even just look them up, look up ascended masters, and then start to read their name. Start to familiarize yourself with them. I guarantee, as we do this, one or two, possibly three, but one or two, there's going to be some kind of resonance there. There's going to be something, and maybe it's Christ or maybe it's Saint, doesn't matter. But then once you do that, you recognize most likely who you've worked with before. And at that point, when you go within, you can ask to rekindle that relationship. And that's actually how it's because it's going to be, as you are just explaining, as you're going further within yourself and raising your frequency, you're coming in contact. That's always how it works. If we can remove the idea of going outside of ourself, it doesn't work that way. I know it seems that way. I absolutely know it seems that way, but that is absolutely an illusion as well. So as we go more within, we raise our frequency, we start to experience more of the self, and it is then that we call upon Christ, Buddha, El Moria, Saint Germain, and we will be able to, just as you do, we will be able to begin to feel the rekindling. We'll feel the energies. And that's how we can start to refamiliarize ourselves and start to work with, once again, these true timeless teachers of humanity.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it. I need to do that more as well. Become more familiar with the different ascended masters and kind of just bring it into your awareness, right? That it's around you
Yeah,
constantly.
it's around us and it's part of us. And the most important thing I want people to understand about the ascended masters is that they continue to endlessly send their love and wisdom and compassion to humanity. They have never, ever, quote unquote, walked away. And as I said, some of them are incarnate right now. And most of us won't recognize one of these beings until well after the incarnation. But they're always, always spreading their love and their wisdom to everyone.
Wow. Would they know they're an ascended master if they're incarnate right now? Are they
Yeah.
purposefully here on the planet doing their thing?
Yeah. Yeah. They'll know.
Wow.
Often, here's how we know if someone actually is an ascended master. They will be doing extraordinary things. The proof will be in the work. You will know them by their fruits. Now, the way that the world is set up, from my perspective, the way that the world is set up right now, Guy, if a master were here, and there are some, if a master were here right now, most likely what they would not do is make a spectacle of themselves. So, in other
Mm.
words, they often turn off some of the more outwardly obvious talents. So what does that mean? Okay. So if someone started levitating and doing telekinesis and teleportation and started changing things metaphysically right before everyone's eyes, okay, they would not do that because they would draw attention to themselves. And by drawing attention to themselves, they would become a target. So what they often do is they keep on more of what I would term their more subtle talents. Now, this could be clairsentience, clairvoyance, claircognizance, the ability to channel, the ability to heal oneself, the ability to access information that you can't access any other way. They would have tremendous, tremendous depth of wisdom. They would also be extremely powerful. We would be able to feel that from them. So that way they can continue to do their work and not draw too much attention to themselves, and therefore actually develop an ego about it, which actually makes it more difficult to operate in a high frequency way if we start to develop an ego about it. And also it allows them to operate in the way that they normally do, but without attracting the kind of attention that they don't want to attract.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It makes me think of a book. I listened to on Audible, and the name slips me by. It's something, The Teachings of the Far East. I can't remember the exact name. It's an old book. It's like
Mm.
written in the, I think, the 20s, where they sent scientists out into Tibet and started studying what was possible. And the stories in there are mind blowing. Like you're talking about people walking through walls.
Yeah.
You're talking about people moving, teleporting from one space to another. Like it's pretty wild. And I often ponder what is possible for a human being. Like what is its potential
Uh,
when doing that?
Limitless. So limitless. An authentic master is here, they simply reflect back our own inner self-realization. So when we look in their eyes and we hear them, they're reflecting back our own self-mastery. And that's part of their role. So we realize that that is also within me. Now, you mentioned Tibet. So the interesting thing about Tibet is that, again, this is my direct experience, is that when Atlantis was beginning to fall and it wasn't going to be changed, we could do probably a whole talk about that. But anyway, so when Atlantis was falling and nothing was going to prevent it, the being that we know as Master R or Saint Germain, he left before Atlantis fell, and he actually went to Tibet. And when he went to Tibet, he took all of his, we'll say his best students. And then he also brought with him El Moria, which is Master M, and also Diwaja, which is another ascended master. And by them going to Tibet and all of these highly advanced souls that they had worked with and trained, that's actually why Tibet became the spiritual capital of the world. It's because they left Atlantis and started doing their work there. And that's also, since we're talking about it, that's also where the being known as Master R, because as he saw the degradation of what was happening to humanity through the fall of Atlantis, and he was able to perceive and understand what was going on genetically with the human being, he realized that there was going to be massive healing that was going to be required. And when he got to Tibet, one of the first things that he did is that he downloaded the system that we now know as Reiki. And in the beginning, there was 432 symbols of Reiki, which perfectly matched the 432 hertz of the Schumann resonance. So it's from there that Master R, who's continuously keeps incarnating, he developed the first profound healing system as Reiki because of what was happening in Atlantis.
Wow. I got to ask you this question, RJ, because like you're extremely knowledgeable when it comes to these things, and you speak about your direct experience as well. Could you share a little bit? What do you mean by direct experience? Are you are you going in and having downloads of visions, or are you able to place yourself in these situations through astral? Like, what's happening?
Yeah. So there's yes. So I am part of this, and I'm able to experience it directly. I'm able to access it. I'm able to download it, and I'm able to recognize that I am actually part of these things that I'm speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I talk about direct, tangible experience, and why the knowingness and the clarity is there, because it's part of me, and I am part of it. And so it's not trying to research it or trying to find out. It's by going to the depths of myself that I experience these things directly and realize that my connectivity and communion is part of these things, and I am literally part of these things that I've shared.
Wow. So like accessing an akashic record or something, kind of going in and that way, or is it different again?
Different again. So I would say
Okay.
that, yeah, I would say that there's a direct personal connection to it all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. For me, it does. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I think you know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, fair enough. I'm just, this is for my own curiosity because of my journey and my evolution. I'm
Yeah.
always wanting to keep, I guess, that beginner's mind and curiosity, because the more I've just continued to lean in, the more I realize, oh, my son's going off again in the background there. But the more I don't know, and the more things are continuing to open up from it. And it's like when you have direct experiences, sometimes it's taken me years to start to integrate it. What does it mean? But when I pick up a book or read somebody else's teachings, it's like, oh, that's what they were on about. Because I've had the direct experience. It's like a very different vantage point to be exploring these things from.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the same thing was what happened for me when I was started to experience some of these things. And uh, I was looking for my first is, have I lost my mind? I mean, what is going on here? This is so beyond. It's like, what? There's more than one God, and I can travel and do all this. It's like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And that's when, like I said, finding some of the work of the Hindu masters. So I was like, okay, there is a lineage of this. There are certain beings, and I'm one of those beings. There are certain beings that can experience these things and that played a part in all these things. So it's like, okay, I haven't totally lost my mind. So now it starts to make more sense, and that's really how I see the work that I do as RJ, the books that I write, the classes, the courses.
Hmm.
It provides it provides, or yeah, it provides a guide, a step-by-step understanding for just like people like yourself that are having these experiences of what is going on here. I wanted to provide the treasure to the I am. So how we can all do this ourselves, for us to realize that we are all a fractal of God, that we are all capable of doing these things. There's absolutely nothing special about anybody. And there really isn't. We can all do it, but it's certainly helpful to have teachers here embodied so they can be a living example of that, and then to be able to follow their teachings, whether it's in a book or the class that they teach or whatever. Everyone and anyone can have these experiences. But, and there is a big but there, you have to work with yourself properly and optimally. So what that means is the thinking mind is never, ever going to touch any of these things. The thinking mind, the data stream that makes the mind think, only comes from the 5 physical senses, or what I call body consciousness. So what comes in through the eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth, that's the data that forms the intellect. What you and I are talking about is way before and beyond. And that's why it's through, we'll use the word meditation. It's only through meditation can you supersede body consciousness and then start to sit directly in the miracle machine of the I am. And then when we sit there, these kind of experiences and this kind of inner knowingness comes online.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, thank you. One thing I found as well is once I had that experience, there was like a new network formed,
Mm-hmm.
that there was a muscle that could be then developed. I guess neural pathways that were like, oh, let's go this way, and you could reinforce it because you almost knew what you were looking for beyond the 5 senses, or what it felt like anyway, and then that side could be nurtured more and
You
more.
got it. So
It's just how do you bridge that in the first place, right? Like how do you set up the environment and the chop wood, carry water, the constant labor of love, and the trust and the letting go to know that it's there.
yeah, what you said
That's
at
the
the end,
challenge.
yeah, the trust. So I often use lots of silly analogies. So here's a silly analogy. So if we have a backyard, right, grass backyard, and we kind of keep cutting across it the exact same way, right? So we start to wear out a path, right? So pretty soon that grass has been tamped down and now it's dirt, right? Because we've been traversing it over and over and over again. Now, and if you keep doing that pathway will get wider, right? It just keeps getting wider because you keep going. Okay, so meditation works the same way. So once you make that connectivity or that connection to your higher mind and your higher self, and you do it over and over and over again, pretty soon the effortless effort starts to take place. The connection has been rekindled. And what used to, and I'll use myself as an example, a long time ago, for me to reach much higher states of consciousness, it used to always take me roughly 40 minutes or 45 minutes to kind of get there, even though there's no there. It's all here and it's all here now. So there's no there, but it used to take a while. It absolutely took a while. Now, after doing it thousands and thousands and thousands of times over decades, what happens is the connectivity is there. The pathway has been made, and now that's how long it takes. So we get good at what we do repetitively, right? So if we want to be good at anything, you do it over and over and over again. And then I promise you, at a certain point, the greatest process is no process. But to get to the no process, we need a process, which sounds ridiculous, but I think you know what I mean. So we need this practice of meditation, right? But then pretty soon, you don't need that at all. You realize that you're already it, and that you're always part of and connected to the whole thing. But in the beginning, developing a meditative practice, which is why I come up with all these how to meditate in 1 second, right? Which kind of changes things for people. And also, when we work with ourselves in that way, we get tangible, immediate results. And when we get tangible, immediate results, we know that we're working with the truth. And that's also very encouraging and very empowering. So when we use the right teachings, we start to develop the right tools and that pathway. And I promise everybody, you do that enough, that connection will be solidified and permanent.
Yeah, 1000%. I love your simple analogy, mate. It's great. Yeah, absolutely. One other question I have, which we didn't kind of lean in because I'm going to cough. Excuse me. Was archangels
Hmm.
and angelic beings. So differentiating between them and ascended masters and their roles as well. I'd love to hear
Okay.
your thoughts.
Sure. Sure. Okay. So archangels are different than angels. So angels are regular angel. No such thing as a regular angel, but right. But archangel and a non archangel, uh, angels are they're more maintenance entities. So in other words, they help maintain the structure of they help maintain the multiversal structure. So in other words, they prevent glitches in the matrix. How's that? Let's try to keep it short and sweet. They prevent glitches in the matrix. Okay, so that's really what angels do. Archangels are totally different. So the archangels also come from the higher selves that also produce the ascended masters. They are extremely, extremely powerful beings. Archangel Michael or Archangel
Mm,
Uriel. And by the way, Archangel Uriel comes from Master R. So Archangel Uriel is actually an incarnation of Saint Germain or from the higher self that is Master R. So archangels they play a very specific role in that they represent the embodiment of the highest potential or the highest um, realization of certain attributes. So, and we can think of Archangel Michael as the fiercest, most powerful warrior that has ever existed. And by the way, Archangel Michael is actually the voice that created the three major Abrahamic religions. That's who Moses was talking to, by the way, when he got the Ten Commandments. He was actually talking to Archangel Michael. So, um, and Archangel Uriel is also extremely powerful. So they're an embodiment. There's something that we can look to, and they kind of they're it for what it is that they do, if that makes sense. And those beings also, once they are that thing, they don't. It's not that same soul that then comes back as something else. So Archangel Uriel remains Archangel Uriel. Archangel Michael remains Archangel Michael, even though the higher self that produced them is still producing other incarnations, if that makes sense. But they are the grand protectors as a way to look at things. They are the grand protectors of not just humanity, of the collective consciousness itself.
interesting. With collective consciousness itself, then, and we got these grand protectors, and all. It's almost like they're outside of reality, tweaking the dials to maintain homeostasis, or get the systems more and more in order. People as we ascend. Then what is that actually? How do we define reality then? So is everything just an illusion? If this is actually happening, because you know, 9 out of 10 people who stop the street, it's like, no, I've only got this physical body, mate. That what are you talking about? This is all just fluff, But when you start to experience that frequency and that power, oh, man, there's nothing comes close to it.
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing too, guys, all the various levels of sentience that have incarnated into human form or alien form. There's various levels. So I mean, clearly, we meet someone and we can, tell immediately, wow, this person is very wise, very loving, very powerful. And then we meet someone else and, you know, nothing like that, right? Okay. And that's
Mm.
fine, right? So there's all these different various levels. So some of these various levels, some of these highly sentient beings, they're well aware that they're not the body. They're well aware of that. They know that. And they don't operate as if personhood is who and what they are. They realize it's a temporary experience. And then they operate that way. They operate through the I am, through their level of love and wisdom, who subsets of their talents and abilities, which is the God force within us all. That's what we are. To be made in God's image is to be the sentience and the energy. We are sentience given energy to create, same as God. That's what it means to be in God's image. It has nothing to do with a suit. So the more sentient we are, the more that we come to realize and we have these experiences that we're not the body-mind complex. Well, another aspect or soul that's been projected here into a human form or alien form might not be operating at the same depth of love and wisdom and hasn't come to these realizations while they're down here. They've so identified themselves with the suit that they don't even desire to see past it or to move past it. And that's totally okay. It always has to have a balance without question. But our God created through variance. So in other words, what does that mean? It means that no two souls are the same. Everyone is a different level of sentience. And even the higher selves that our God created, it didn't create any two higher selves are the same. And that's why we have higher selves that project pieces of itself that are here as a rock or a mineral, or a higher self that projects pieces of itself that's a plant or an insect, or a genre of higher selves that project pieces of itself that come here as animal within an animal form. And then we have human and alien. So we have all these different levels. So eventually everybody will be starving and will require these kind of teachings. Eventually, all of them will. But right now, there's a certain percentage, as you know, are ravenous because they're ready. And there's also a certain percentage that's like, that stuff is nonsense. If I can't touch it, taste it, hear it, smell it, it ain't real. That's okay. The first thing you ask me, Guy, about is any of this real? So I like to say that nothing is real except our experience of it is. Right? So everything, and this is hard for the finite mind, right? But everything is imagination. That's all it is. We imagine everything into existence. Everything is imagination. And in that sense, the only thing that is real is the self, with the capital S, the God within us all, which is actually creating all of these experiences so it can see itself in the act of creation, and therefore it can experience, learn, and evolve itself through playtime, because it's all imagination.
Yeah. It's the same here with the Aboriginal indigenous culture. They have dream time. They spend more time in dream time than reality per se. But and that's what they say. It's all imagination.
Yeah.
It's all imagination. Where do you feel then with the intent is going for humanity then? If we got people behind the scenes or beings behind the scenes guiding us to, where is it guiding us to? What is this intent behind it all, do you feel?
Okay, so let me give some context to that. So it's a deep question. I want to give the best answer that I can give you. I would say that in order for evolution to take place, there has to be what I call evolutionary tension. Okay, but how is a diamond form, right? A diamond is simply a piece of coal that's responded well to pressure. Right? That's what it is. Okay, so our evolution is simply that. It's just how do we respond to the evolutionary tension that's put upon us. So we have evolutionary tension. You could call these the bad guys if you want. Just, we're incredibly simplifying it. And there's no such thing as good or bad. They're just playing a role of providing the evolutionary tension, right? So they're pushing down on humanity and on other species. They're pushing down, right? And then we have all this assistance that's not only these advanced beings that are incarnate, these more evolved beings that are incarnate. We also have all the disincarnate beings that are also helping. So we got this going on. We got this going on. And that never changes, by the way. That absolutely never changes. Now, the point of this and this is for us to go within and experience and realize more of the self-realization, right? To go within and experience more of the self. It's for the self, the one self, the multidimensional one self that's here. It's all God, for it to know itself and all its infinite potential. And it does that through its own challenges. Consciousness gives itself challenges so it can see itself in the act of overcoming it, which is really what evolution is that. And in order for us to go within, we have to be challenged. Otherwise, we'd all be on the couch, eating Cheetos or, whatever, right? So we have to give our health challenge, all these different challenges, right? So we got this going on. We got this going on. That's never going to change. It's all to know the potential. It's all to know the self-realization, and the infinite, the literally infinite potential that we all possess. And we only have that through our own evolutionary tension that we sign up for so we can evolve our own consciousness.
Wow. And do you feel things are heightening at the moment in this time of history right now? Like it's a special time to be on the planet? Because I don't know if what's going on in my own personal evolution journey is coincidental to the things that are being spoken about of what's happening right now, this time in history, or it is actually influenced by what is going on right now. Does that make sense? That I'm in this rising tide, so I've decided to just, let go of the anchor and just flow with it and see what happens, basically. I'm
Yeah. I
always
mean,
fascinated by these things.
yeah, there's no such thing as coincidences, right? There's no such thing.
Yeah.
It's right. So we're never victims or suffer. The only thing we ever suffer is our own lack of perspective, right? So we call, oh, lucky, oh, that's a coincidence. No, no such thing. No such thing. Everything is happening for us, for the evolution of our own consciousness, individually and collectively. Everything, every moment is actually happening for us, even when this stuff is happening. It's happening for us to evolve. No, it's not a coincidence at all. You're one of the more advanced souls that comes here to wake themselves up, and then you could be a teacher for many, which is exactly what you're doing. I mean, you're literally doing it right now. You've been doing it for years. I mean, so you are part of this wave of these more advanced beings that came here to be an embodiment of what it's like to live in a more higher frequency way, in a more expansive way, a more loving way, a more kind way, a more compassionate way, a more empowering way. It's not a coincidence at all, my friend, in any way, shape, or form. And they go hand in hand. It's not one creates this and this creates that. They both create each other, and they both need each other. Like inhaling and exhaling is one thing. They can't be separate. So it's all working together as one, without a doubt. And there are so many it's amazing. This is, to me, the most dynamic and amazing time to have ever been on this planet, because these cycles of consciousness, the being known as Sri Yukteswar, who's El Morya, an ascended master, who was the guru to Paramahansa Yogananda, he wrote a book. Boy, is it a tough read. But he bought a book called the Holy Science. I mean, it's brutal. So he wrote a book called The Holy Science, and he talks about yugas. Now, yugas are these cycles of, I think it's roughly 26,200 years.
Yeah.
So we go through, yeah, okay. Now, I'll say this, right? Forget time, because time doesn't exist, right? It's a unit of measure. It doesn't actually tangibly exist. Time is not part of what is. Okay. So if we can think of the yuga, forget that. Just think of here comes another analogy. Just think of a flower, right? Starts off in the ground, starts to come up, begins to bloom, and then it totally blooms, right? Full open flower, full bloom, excuse me. And then it goes back, and that whole process starts to go back down, and it dies. Okay. That's what consciousness does. It's the cyclical nature of full bloom and then all the way back down, and then full bloom. Now, because we've done this so much, that it's speeding up like crazy. So now we're doing it faster and faster and faster. And that's actually what we're seeing. We're seeing us go through another one of these cycles, and it's almost like we're doing it in fast forward because we've done it so much. And so this is, to me, that's part of why I'm here. This is one of the most important, if not the most important time in the history of humanity, is to be here right now. And so it's all part of this. And that never stops, as either weird or annoying or unusual as that seems. This cycle, this, and then this, and then this, and then that, that's never going to stop. It's never going to stop. It'll just do that in different ways, in different frequencies, in different realms, all the same participants, by the way, over and over and over again. But we are at this point, Guy, where the blooming is happening so fast because we've done this so much. that the evolutionary tension is having to be put in overdrive to try to tamp down this bloom that they can't stop. And because the bloom is happening so quick, they're trying everything to hold it down. And that pressure, the evolutionary tension,
Mm.
actually only speeds up the blooming. So from a very detached perspective, if we looked at that, we would actually say that the more pressure that is put upon us, the faster we actually wake up.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. It's going to be fascinating to see where this bloom takes us. Like, I'm just intrigued. It's almost like I'm just sitting back watching the show to a degree, and then and being involved in it at the same time. I don't know. It's a soup. It's a soup. I am. I'm going to wrap up the podcast, RJ, soon, but I want to mention your new book because you mentioned at the start, and when you came on the show, I didn't even realize you had got book number 3 out. Because when we spoke last time, you had completed book number 2. So I'm like, wow, mate, you're certainly busy behind the scenes there. So can you just mention a little bit about it before we wrap up for listeners, please? I'm a,
Sure, I appreciate that, guy. So the
mm,
new book, we're here in the States. I'm not sure when this will come out, but in the States, the book just came out. It's only about 6 days ago, August 8th, and it's called Access Super Consciousness. Now, what this book is really about is there are 24 timeless teachings. I call them the 12 tenets of self-mastery and the 12 eternal truths. These are supreme teachings from exalted states of consciousness, and with each one of these 24 teachings, there is an accompanying meditation. 24 teachings, 24 meditations, so everyone can actually have the tangible experience of the teaching itself. And that's what was most important to me. This is I think we were joking before we started recording that this is my favorite book. And then when my fourth one comes out, I'll say that's my favorite book. But this really is my favorite book. There's the first chapter is unlike the rest of the book. It's completely and utterly autobiographical. I capture 4 or 5 moments that happened in my life that completely changed my life along my journey of self-realization. And my hope in capturing these completely and utterly autobiographical moments, that because they changed me, my hope is it'll change the reader. And there's also a section on the Ascended Masters, which we alluded to.
mm-hmm.
And there's the back of the book also has the shortcuts to the 24 teachings and the 24 meditations. I don't think there's ever been a book quite like this one. And I'm very, very excited about it. It takes the teachings of the first 2 books. It doesn't take it to the next level. It takes it to about 40 levels past that. And that is also because of just what we were talking about. This is happening so rapid that we can make these quantum leaps. We don't have to work with logic and linearity anymore. It doesn't have to be A and
mm.
then B and then C. Nonsense. Nonsense. And this book kind of captures this exalted state of consciousness, and the 24 meditations will give the reader the ability to have that experience themselves.
Fantastic. And it's on Audible as well.
Yeah, I did the narration. So my suggestion is to get the Audible and then also get the book and read along as you hear me narrate it. And the feedback
Mm.
that I get from people, that the impact is 10 times what it would be just reading or just listening.
Oh, fantastic, mate. Congratulations. Well done. Wow. That's awesome. I'll be checking it out 100%, mate. Definitely. I appreciate it. Look, well, mate, and where can people, I mean, you'll be easy to find, right? If you type RJ Spinner into Google, you'll come up. We'll make sure your link to your website is below as well, but maybe just say it out loud, just for everyone listening.
Sure, sure. So the website is ascendthefrequencies.com. I suggest signing up for the newsletter because I'm always doing a class or a workshop. We're about to announce a new workshop. There's always a new class that's on the horizon. And then I put something daily on Instagram, which is just RJ Spina, Ascend the Frequencies, and our YouTube channel, which is the same thing, RJ Spina, Ascend the Frequencies. I think I have at this point, I don't know, about 150 hours of free. Yeah, so people can just avail themselves of it. And then if this really resonates, this really speaks, jump in with the book, jump in with the class, jump in with the workshop. It'll be unlike anything anyone has ever experienced.
Yeah, beautiful. RJ, thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate you. I appreciate our conversation. Thanks for going with me this morning on my sleep deprived state. And yeah, I loved it. I got a huge amount out of it myself today as well. So thanks for all you do, my man. It's greatly appreciated.
Oh, you're most welcome. It's my pleasure, and it's an honor to have that I get to be invited back on your show. Anytime you want to talk, it'd be my pleasure.
100%. Thanks, RJ. Thank you, my man.